Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of my Express series where we're going to learn everything there is to learn about Express. So in the previous video, we basically just got everything set up. In this one, we're going to go more in depth into routes. So this little code that we did here, that might have been a little confusing to you. But so in the previous video, we got a small glimpse of routes in Express. But what a route is it's essentially a path on a website. So something like dash dash, because I could do it here, it's like dash, we have the main route here. We could have another one that's dash users. We could have another one that's dash posts. So these are essentially what routes are. And websites often have many routes that provide different resources or displays and things like that. For example, one route could be used to display all the registered users on the website, which could be dash users. One route could be used to display the home page, which might be just this here without the users, display posts, which would be dash posts, and so on. But what routes also have is an HTTP request type. For example, a GET request to dash posts here would be different than a POST request to dash posts here. And of course, we'll be going more in depth into those, but right now, let's just go over creating another route. So to create a route in Express, we use the app. So this is our Express app that we created here. And then the HTTP method that we want to use. So if we want to use get, it's .get. And then we provided the path to the route, which could be here is dash users. And then we provide the handler, which is request, response, like we saw in the previous video. So in this function signature here, so app.http method, path, and then handler, the method is the HTTP request type, which is get, post, put, delete, things like that. Path is the path to the route. So this would be localhost 1234-users. And this handler here is a callback function that accepts the request from the client and the response that our Express application responds with. Now let's just change one of these. Let's change this to say, welcome to the home page. This will essentially be the home page of our application. And then this one here, we'll do response.send. Let's do an H1 so we can embed some HTML in here. This is the user's page. Dash H1 like this. Let me also just add some in here as well. And now let's quickly go over to this localhost here. Let's refresh this. We get welcome to home page in an H1 tag, which is easier to read. And now if we want to go over to our dash users page like this, we get this is the users page. So when we typed in localhost 123 users in our Express application, what it did is it came over here, looked for dash users, it's a get request again, and then responds with this. Now let's just go a little bit over these HTTP methods. So we're going to start with the HTTP GET method. So far we have only been using the HTTP GET method. And the HTTP GET method is used to retrieve data. For example, when we submit an HTTP GET request to dash users, we're requesting data at this dash users route. And in this application, this is the string, this is the users page. In a real-world application, a GET request to dash users would most likely return a JSON array of JSON objects of users that are registered to an application or something like this. But for demonstration purposes, ours just prints out this string. But now let's talk about another common method, and this is the HTTP post route. So the HTTP post method. And so the HTTP post method asks the web server to accept the data enclosed in the body of the request. For example, a post request to dash users here could contain information about a new user in the request body. So it could be saying, hey, server, here's a new user. So if we had like, don't know what it here. If we had like app.post and then dash users, this is different from this here. This could be saying like we submit from the client, they send up a JSON object of a new user. And this is saying this post method, insert this into our list of registered users. But so we can see that the HTTP method plays a big role in what will happen at that route. So what we want to do here is it still request and response like this. And in here, we can still send. So we can send over, let's just say you have accessed user's route with the post method. So we can see here that the structure of the route is the exact same. We can even just send back a string like we did with a GET request to -users, but however, what makes this different is accessing this route is a bit different than just, say, what we were doing previously was just typing in -users. Because if we type in -users, we can see if we click on this in our network tab, go to headers, we can see this is a GET request and not a POST request. Because just typing into the URL bar of our browsers will just access the route with the GET method. So to access the POST route, we can either use a handy tool like Postman, which I have right here, or we can even use curl in the command line. And for this series, just to make things easier, we're going to use a command prompt and curl. So open up a command prompt like this, and if we type in curl-x post, and then as a string, http --localhost 1234 -users like this, we can see you have accessed the user's route with the post method. So what it did is it sent a response, it accessed this route here. And then real quick, this won't show up in our network tab, of course, because we didn't do it through the browser. So that's why it's not going to be shown up here. But also real quick, let me give you a rundown of this command right here. So what curl is it's a command line tool used to transfer data between a client and a server. And specifically, we use -x right here and post to specify the HTTP request method as post and then supply the path that we want to make the post request to. And this is the path here. And of course, with most command line tools, they usually have a --help. And there's a lot of options here, but if we look for -x, we can see request, specify request command to use, which for us is a post request. So that's just what's going on with that there. But of course, in commercial web applications, we aren't pulling up command prompts to access certain routes. The way post requests are often sent is through HTML forms. So say we had, let me just create an like index.html like this. And then if we say we had a form, getting this from somewhere else, but if we had just a form like this, where it actions to -users and the method is post, this is how we could send a post request from, say, from the browser. So in this code here, what we're essentially doing is we have two inputs. We accept a username, a password, and then this will be a button that will submit it as a post request to -users. And this would end up accessing this route right here. So of course, a common use of like these forms is like logging a user in. Like that could be this here, or signing up, registering a user, but it's used for all sorts of things. But anyway, that was just a demonstration. Let me delete this. I'm actually going to be using it. But there are, so we've talked about, I'll put these semicolons here too. But so we've talked about get and post, but there are more HTTP request methods or request types than just post and get. For example, we have the HTTP delete method, which is used to delete a resource on the server, while we have the HTTP put method, which is used to update data stored on the server. So as an example of put, let's say a user wants to update their profile information, such as maybe relationship status. What we would do is usually issue a put request to get this done. And we will be experimenting with other HTTP methods as this series continues, but that's just an example of, say, put, which is used to update. Now let me decrease this a bit. And let's talk about something cool with Express, which is Express also has a wildcard HTTP method called all. So instead of like app.post or app.get, we have app.all. And so this is a wildcard HTTP method that handles all types of HTTP methods, be it post, get, delete, and things like that. So if we had like, say, dash my route, and then we had request response like this, res.send, this route could have been accessed with any HTTP method. And I guess just take my word for it because I don't see the need in showing it. But what this would be is if we accessed, well, I guess I can, whatever, I'll just show it. So we have like here, if we do dash my route, this could be accessed any HTTP method. Then if we go back here and we do my, not Mr., but my route, we get the same thing. So that's just a cool little thing, is we have a wildcard method to handle all sorts of, or every kind of HTTP request. And now let's start talking about an important class in Express called the Express router. And so the Express router helps us create better route handlers. For example, writing the routes as we have been here can get quite tedious, paths can become long or complicated, and it's also just kind of messy. And so what the Express router provides us with is an easier way to handle routes. So to demonstrate this, let's first create a folder called, not whatever that is, but called routes. And within this, we'll make two files. One called users. Actually, let's make these folders. One called users and one called, actually not inside users, but one called posts. And then in each of these, let's add an index.js file. So index.js. And inside here, so let's close out of these to clear this up. But inside here, first, let's require Express. So we can use our Express tools and everything in here. But instead of creating an Express app, because you already have one of those, we're going to create an Express router, which we can do by calling this here. And now instead of adding a route, or basically a route handler to our Express app, what we will do is we'll add it to this thing called a router. And this will make more sense as I show you how it works. But essentially, it's the same thing as app.get, but we're using a router object. Let's make another one called dash WittCode, like this. And in here, let's send h1. This is WittCode's. Sorry, I was thinking how I can. Let's just use this. This is WittCode's profile, like this. And in here, let's send, this is all the users, like this. And then what we want to do next is we want to export this router object. So module.exports equals router. And so you might already be able to see how this can clean up our code. So for example, we add each route to our router object and then we export it right here. And so once we import this router object into our main index.js file, which we'll do in a second, the routes localhost1234-users, which will be this one, and localhost-users-WittCode will be this one, which you'll see in a sec. You might be wondering, where does users come in? I'll show you that in a second. But real quick, let me just tell you more about the router. So remember how calling Express in here, so in this index.js file, remember how calling Express like this creates an Express app? Well, think of Express.router here as creating a mini app. And routes can become fairly complicated. So these mini apps allow us to separate our routes into these different files and just clean things up. But so now what I'm going to do, oh, and I actually created this in the posts. We wanted to create this in the users. But so let's add that there. And then in here, let's say this is all the posts. And let's change this to dash most popular. And say this is the most popular post. And we'll have a dash h1. Add that to this too. Save that. I believe missed out on that here as well. Just makes it easier to see. So h1 dash h1. And so what this does in here in posts is this will add a route localhost1234-posts, and this will be localhost1234-posts-most popular. So also thanks to the express router, we can divide our routes into separate files like this. Because if we made all these routes inside our main file here, it would just get messy. There'd be a lot of stuff going on. But so let's get rid of these. And now let's import our routers object. So inside our main.index.js file here, we're going to do const users equals require dot dash routes dash posts. Sorry, I keep mixing these up. Dash users, and then we're going to have posts equals require dot dash routes dash posts. And so requiring these folders here, we don't have to specify index.js because by default, Node will look for an index.js file when we require a folder. And remember, both these files export an express router, which is a mini app. So the reason we can require these is because we are exporting this here, which is our router, which has these routes in it, which will then be returned into these objects here. But now we've got our mini apps imported, so let's attach them to our main app. So essentially we're going to make these mini routers, which are, you can say, is mini express apps, and attach them to our main express application, which is this right here. And the way we're going to be doing that is through the method app.use. We're going to tag in users and then pass in our users router. And then we'll do app.use and we'll do dash posts and put in our post router. And so now you might be able to see where the tagging on of this route appears. In other words, in here, remember how it's dash, this is dash users, and this is dash users dash WittCode. Well, when we use app.use here, we can see we place in dash users and then users. And this is the reason why it will be dash users for this route and dash users dash WittCode. And similarly for this here, where it's dash posts and we're requiring our posts router, if we look in here, this will go to dash posts and this will go to dash posts dash most popular. And so this could also clear up how you can see how this could make writing routes easier. Because if we had to do like this is dash users dash WittCode for like down here, we do dash users dash WittCode. So you can already see that we can basically clean these up and make them simpler. But anyway, you're probably also wondering what app.use means right here. And we'll be getting more into this actually when we talk about middleware. But for now, just know that app.use, this method here, is called every time a request is sent to our Express application. So app.user or app.use dash users and then users will use our index.js file in our users folder every time the dash users route is accessed. So every time this dash users route is accessed, this here will be called, which will basically initiate our router object, and it'll look for see which one of these routes is being called. And on the other hand, app.use dash posts and then posts will use our index.js file from our posts folder. So this file right here, every time the dash posts route is accessed. Specifically though, and once again we'll talk more about this when I specifically go over middleware, but specifically the method app.use takes something called middleware. And so we won't go into that really in depth right now, but we will soon. But for now, just know that middleware is basically something that will run between the time the server gets a request from the client and the server responds or sends a response to the client, which is essentially every one of these routers, because we receive a request, we do all this in here, and then we send a response. But just know these take what's called middleware, and we'll go over that more into the future. But now just to show these routes are working, so let's go in here. We've got our home page. Let's do a dash users dash WittCode. We had dash, what was it, posts, and then dash posts dash most popular. This is the most popular post. And all of these are because we have these routers that we set up in here, and then we export the router, export it right here, and then we bring it in and we attach it to our main Express application. And then also I believe I have the network tab open. We can just see dash posts.mostpopular. This is a GET request, which of course will coincide with this right here, which will be dash posts dash most popular. But that was it for this video. So in the next video, we're going to be going over dynamic routes. So far we've only been doing static routes. I'll get into this more in the next video. But I want to thank you all for liking, subscribing, leaving a comment today. If you have any questions, of course, leave a comment and I'll try and get back to you. But besides that, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.